I've run out of charcoal for my orchid media. My babies need transplanting now, and my Amazon delivery is going to be late. Can I use my barbecue charcoal? Yes, yes you can. But take note, only under certain circumstances, or it could be very detrimental for your plants. So be aware. And welcome to the Nature Company. If this is the kind of information you're interested in, please hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and that notification bell to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. We are asking, can we use the shop-bought charcoal for our barbecue, for our orchids? And the answer is yes and no. Because when using charcoal for your orchids, you have to, one, be sure that it's 100% natural, meaning that there's no additives, there's no preservatives, and there's no accelerants, nothing that's going to cause it to catch fire, because those accelerants and other additives are going to be detrimental to your orchids. Also, those briquettes, those little briquettes that you get that are basically charcoal that's been stamped into a shape, are also not to be used. Those generally also have all sorts of accelerants and other chemicals in them that are not going to be good for your orchid. So what you are looking for is a good quality hardwood charcoal. And one of the ways you're going to be able to tell that's actually originally from wood is you can see that the charcoal itself still looks like the branches or pieces of wood that were originally burnt to produce the charcoal. And charcoal from your fireplace is generally not going to do the trick. Charcoal produced like this, the hardwood charcoal that you can use for your orchids, is produced in an oxygen deficient environment, which produces the charcoal that we're looking for, not just charcoal from your fireplace. Also, the softwood charcoals are not that good. You really want good quality hardwood lump charcoal. So you ask, how am I going to use this in my orchids? Well, for one, if you've just bought it, even though it is straight from the shop, it may be 100% natural like this one is, you need to rinse it first. So you can see all that dust coming off, and that dust we don't necessarily want anywhere near our orchids. So what we're going to do is we just put some of it into a bucket, add some water, surprise, surprise. Okay, now I need to go to the loo. But anyway, so there we go. And this, we see all the bits and pieces of charcoal and the charcoal dust that begins to settle off. This we let to soak overnight. This is just to ensure that if there is any latent chemicals or such that may have been sprayed on other parts that happen to land on here, can just be washed off. So any contaminants can then be rinsed off. We'll let it soak overnight and then do another 2 rinses after that, just to clear off any of the dust so we can get our nice clean charcoal pieces. Here you notice hardly any dust is left on the hands after touching this. Now, as we pour the water on, we can start to hear that crackling, almost as if it's on fire. This is just the water being absorbed on and parts of the charcoal beginning to expand and cracking, which is going to make it easier to break up into the pieces that we need it to be. We can see how black the water is coming out. This is all the charcoal dust and all the small pieces of charcoal that are coming. There we go. Remember, you may need to rinse out your charcoal 2 or 3 times after this initial soaking. And don't put this water to waste. use it on your plants, your vegetables, your potted plants, anything like that. It's going to make such a big difference to the soil. Because not all orchids want large pieces of charcoal like this shoved into their pots. For things like your large vandas and that, where you want that air movement around the base and through the roots, large pieces like this can be ideal, and you don't need to break it up any further. It will allow for that air movement and that fast drainage, and your work then will be done already. And hardwood lump charcoal has a weight to it. You can actually feel the weight of the charcoal as opposed to a softwood charcoal, which almost feels light as air. It's got almost like a dead weight to it. It actually feels quite solid. And it's not the easiest thing to break, but that's what we have tools for. Use a hammer and chisel and just, as easy as that, tap away. Slightly time consuming and laborious, but it's very effective. And then this you can just chop up into the size chunks that you need or want for your specific orchids. So it is really an easy fix, inexpensive, easily attainable, and quick. Remember, you can also produce this at home by yourself. If you produce it, if you want to, your hardwood cuttings, you can just start up a fire with it and look online, they'll tell you how to do it. No, but it's basically starting up a fire, letting the wood start to burn, and then covering it up with soil, allowing for it to burn over a long period of time to produce your hardwood charcoal. And charcoal for orchids doesn't have to be activated charcoal. Invariably, horticultural charcoal or agricultural charcoal is not activated charcoal. It's often just charcoal which has been produced under those high temperatures for long periods of time so that it becomes really stable in its form. This hardwood lump charcoal is going to do almost exactly the same job. So remember again, make sure you're getting 100% natural charcoal that's free of accelerants or any other chemical additives, and then just take a bit of time to do it. Remember also to soak your charcoal, rinse it out. All of these bits and pieces that are left over, the charcoal dust and everything, don't put it into the rubbish bin. Rather use it on your garden, especially your veg garden. They'll thank you for it. It really does make a big difference when put into your soils. So there's going to be no waste involved in this, other than perhaps a waste of time. Perhaps you think the agricultural charcoal is worth the expense, that you don't have to worry with the time on doing it. If you do believe so, then don't worry. We have a link for you in the description box down below for you to be able to get your agricultural charcoal. Just don't be like me, remember to order it on time. And charcoal is an inert substance that can be reused over and over again, just with a little bit of washing. So by using your barbecue charcoal, you can allow your orchids to cook for you too. And thank you for watching. If you found any of this information helpful, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below, and that notification bell, bing bong, to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. Help us grow as we help your orchids grow.